Welcome, everybody, to a special episode of Chiefs Focus First and 10. You're here with JP, Caleb, and we got Thizz from the Mike and You podcast on. We are here to talk about all the absolute crazy bullshit going on Twitter right now. I mean, I ain't got no other way of putting it, but that's what we're here to talk about. It's imploding, and it's like, I don't know, man. It's insane. It's stupidity. It's ignorance, and we had to get on the air real quick and get this out. It ain't gonna be a long show, but it's gonna be meaningful. I'll tell you that much right now. I'll let you guys start off because I'm trying to keep my composure. So you guys go ahead and say what you got to say, and then I'll spit my shit out. So go ahead. Whoever wants to start.
I'll start with it, man. I think what it comes down to is I'll just kind of explain the framework, the situation. As you know, Tyrann Mathieu is not afraid to go after fans.
Nope.
I personally don't blame him for many different reasons, and I'll get to that later. But basically what happened was there was a post, and someone, I forgot what the context was around it, but it was on Instagram. And Anthony Hitchens comments under the post saying we have been to three AFC Championship games, 2 Super Bowls, and we've won one. And he's trying to make he said that, and then Tyrann Mathieu chimed in, and then he said this is starting to become one of the most toxic fan bases in the world. Basically, this is Chiefs Kingdom he's talking about. The kingdom we say that we love our players. This is what he was talking about. So when you see that, it's just kind of like just shows me, look, I understand that maybe the players shouldn't respond all the time, but goodness, the way the fans have talked to these players for the last couple of weeks, actually, I'm going to say since the Mahomes era, has been absolutely terrible. There's no way they should be able to talk to these people like they're not human.
Yeah.
They were trying to say, well, their job is amateur. I could say the same thing about their job where they work at McDonald's right now, giving food out the drive-thru window. I could be critical and be berating to them too, but I'm not going to do that. Tyrann Mathieu's not going to do that. Anthony Hitchens is going to do that. These players have a right to clap back. I think it's kind of funny when we see radio hosts such as Carrington Harrison continually want to go ahead and go at these players and basically call Frank Clark a bank robber, make fun of the players. I understand you're doing radio, but enough is enough. And it's kind of in the borderline where it's like, I'm kind of think it's funny when the players go after players, media like this, because it just shows that they aren't, just because they have a check mark doesn't mean that they are untouchable.
Exactly.
They need to be called out just as well. Go ahead, Fizz.
Here's the difference with that, and I hope you hear me well. Carrington or CDOT is a media member. That's kind of his job, okay? Mm-hmm. Us as fans, I understand the clapback of him because that's if you look back in history, media has been both to praise and to what's the word I'm looking for? Criticize.
Degrade. Yeah. Praise
criticize,
and
degrade.
Yeah.
You know, they've been there to do that. They've been on both sides of the tandem, or both tandems of the totem pole or whatever it is. I'm sorry. But then we look at they're getting paid to create content, right?
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
So if they think something stinks, then they ought to be able to say it, and it's fine. There is the place where it all has its place. But it's just
but this isn't a National Enquirer either. This is,
no, it's not, and it's just rough. And the thing that I saw was that the fact that he's not clapping back at media members, he's clapping back at fans.
Yeah,
he didn't say anything about the media being the most toxic media in all of sports. He said fans. And while I do agree that there is toxicity in the air with Chiefs fans because we expected a whole lot more, I don't know if it's fair. It might be. I'm not on their side of it. But it might be fair, it might not be, to call them the most toxic fans in the media. And then we get it. Then you have other players that chimed in on that. And of course, just the same way it hits their ears when we give criticism to them, it hits fans' ears the same way. and they knew that. That's why they did it. It's just
I hear what you're saying, Fizz.
It's just rough to see. Mm-hmm. That's all.
No, I hear what you're saying, man. And what I was saying, yeah, the media has a right. I just kind of noticed recently that they're the ones who, in a way, have a larger voice. And they're saying stuff like continue to say Frank Clark's a bank robber over and over and over again. Like, okay, we know he's not playing well, but you're beating a dead horse at that point, and you're putting that negativity out in the atmosphere.
It's the Kevin Keatsman bullshit.
I mean, if you're going to talk about that for a couple hours, like, it's getting old at this point, in my opinion. But Fizz, you are right. They do have a right. They're getting paid, but I think there's a medium. But I do.
There is a medium. And here's the thing. Look. You have local media and you have national media. Okay, it's similar to, and I hate bringing up the narrative of any kind of politics, but it's similar to when you hear somebody say, "Oh well, I don't know if it's because I don't really follow politics, but they always say one national group or national media group lies constantly about a political party. I don't know if it's CNN or if it's Fox or what are the other blah 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 whatever." But one may lie more than the other. One may make up a narrative about a president or about something that is completely off base, whatever the case may be, because they're not for that political party. Well, here's the thing. When you have a local media base that is for your local teams, regardless of the situation, you need to keep it at a minimum. I mean, you got to have an even keel. Back in the day, when I did the minimal sports talk radio that I did, and the guys that I did it with, none of them did that kind of stuff. You didn't have that going on. They rooted for their team. They backed their team up. They didn't go and purposely bash them. They didn't Kevin Keats them. They didn't go after them like Brooke Pryor did. They didn't make up false narratives like Brooke Pryor did. They didn't do those type of things. And it seems like they do beat dead horses. And then when that happens, you have these negative mindset, certain aspect of our fan base that thrives off of that negativity, because I don't know if it's negativity in their own life and they just, how they say, negativity breeds negativity. It just kind of fuels the fire. And then all of a sudden you've got this extremely giant social media base that is, one guy I put out a post earlier and one guy says, well, how many people do you think? What percentage of the fan base do you think it is? One guy says 1%. You're absolutely wrong. It's a lot more than 1% that's bashing this team. That's a huge amount of fans. There's no possibility it's 1%. Okay, I have a media friend that follows the Chiefs constantly, and he calls them the 15%ers. So I called it the 5% at one time. So I'm starting to believe it's the 15% because just that little post that we put out, on the 100, 200 likes that we got on it, we got 35, 40 replies up to within 5 minutes, and half of those were negativity, and then the other half were positivity. So I got a question for you, JP. Yeah.
When we look at the landscape here, and there's always two sides of the coin, always. You know that. But one of my favorite rappers said one of their famous quotes, in my opinion, is not famous, but I love the quote. They'll hail you to nail you no matter who you are.
Yes.
So if I'm a Chiefs player, I got to understand that this is part of it. But when I look at who we brought in these guys specifically for this reason, right? Mm-hmm. Veach brought in these guys for their attitude. The issue that we're seeing now is the attitude is not being put on the field, is being put on social media. Yes. And do I think they're wrong? Absolutely not, because you clap at me, I'm clapping back. That's how it works.
Yeah.
But we're not seeing the clap back on the field. And that is what frustrates the Chiefs fans. And do I think they're wrong in their response? There's two sides of that coin as well. But do I think that the Chiefs players are wrong? There's two sides of that coin as well. Because we know that they know they're not playing well and they want to play better. And they're frustrated at the fact that they aren't better.
Well, here's the thing, though, Thizz, here's the thing about that. The fans, they assume that it's just the players. That's the part that frustrates me the most. Is they think that these players are just going out there to purposely play bad, and they're in control of everything they do. They are not in control of what they do. They are told they're told their assignments, they're told what to do, they're told what schemes to play, they're told what man to cover, and if they break off that coverage, whether it be, God forbid, if they break off because of an instinct and they miss, then the fans blast them, the coach blasts them, whatever the case may be. So they're put out on the field in an assignment role. Just like you go to your job to do an assignment, a job that's specifically for your job. I go to my job to do a job that's for me. And everybody else in the world does. Nobody just breaks off their role because they can. Okay? They're not going out there to purposely lose. They're not going out there to purposely play bad. So there's a lot more people involved than just the players. And fans seem to think that it's just the players that are causing this. It's not.
Especially considering 2 years ago we were in the championship. These are
exactly
the same players, and
so that's the whole point. That's the whole point. So what would, if any intelligent fan out there would take a look at the players that we have right now and think about it and go, okay, well, these are the exact same players that we had 2 years ago, but we had made adjustments on, let's see, some of the coaching that just came in. Oh, wow. We just brought in a cornerbacks coach that just is, new this last year or two. We just brought in a defensive line coach that's new, that just came in a couple of years ago or last year. There's a lot of different coaching changes that have happened. So what makes them think, and I understand that there's a lot of people out there that are young that didn't ride the wave with all of us through the bad years, but
it shows.
And
it shows
exactly, and it definitely shows. And even on some of the tweets that I seen, some of them said, "I don't care what went on before; it doesn't make me any difference. I wasn't here, so who gives a shit?" Well, then you're not.
No, JP, I'm going to stop you right there. If you don't go through a struggle, then you understand. When Chiefs fans saw our team be 2-14, 3-13, 4-12. Finally had Andy Reid came in, and Vince can probably relate this. Andy Reid came in and changed the program around. And when we finally won the Super Bowl, it was well worth it. All the fans who were there
50 years of hell
was terrible were able to rejoice because they finally got to the mountaintop after being very close and being kicked off the mountain and falling to the bottom. Fizz has seen that, and JP has seen that as well. Go ahead, Fizz.
Absolutely. But Caleb, let me remind you, I'm going to go back to 2018 when we got Mahomes. He was here, he was doing his thing, right? And then we get to that AFC Championship and we lose that game. Or not even then. Let's go 2017.
Okay.
When we finally got everything, it was working so well. Next thing I know, we lose that championship, we lose in the playoffs, and I questioned everything. There's no lie. I questioned all of it. It didn't feel good at all to lose and to keep going to the same spots and keep losing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And losing. I had to question Andy Reid at that moment. I had to question John Dorsey at the time. Like, it's fair. These are, I don't want to sound like an apologist for the 15%. I don't want to sound like that. That's not what I'm trying to do. But I want to be able to accurately portray fans' frustrations. You know what I mean? So we're talking about those fans that just got here that didn't ride the wave when we were, or that didn't know what the wave was when they were there and they just got here when we started winning. Hey, that's part of fandom too. And it sucks because they don't know what it's like to feel this way. But for those fans the fans that have stuck around and still see the same team that we had in 2019 going after fans, and you got to realize we're going after them too. But it
starts with the fans. These players wouldn't be going after them if the fans weren't saying that. And I'm not talking about critiquing them. Look, that's one thing. If you're going to go and say